So this month, we have been looking at ways to refresh, renew, reboot, and be reborn into a more divinely inspired, love-filled life. Right? And, we've been exploring these ideas. So I would like for you to imagine with me. Let's do a little imagination exercise. And if you would, maybe close your eyes. Just get comfortable. We're going to imagine a possibility for our lives. Imagine having this unshakable connection with that indwelling presence, with that highest divine self within us. And it is filling us with such peace that nothing in our outer world, no challenges can throw us, because we're centered in this calm knowing that it'll all work out, that a way will be made, that we will be carried by the wings of spirit, that we will be divinely inspired with exactly what to know, what to do. And imagine further having relationships that are harmonious, loving, mutually supportive, and being able to successfully negotiate those that are challenging. Because we know there's always those, right? And imagine further with me that you're joyously happy, expressing your unique gifts and talents in this world, that you are living your vision, that you are singing your song, and you are being very well compensated for that. Or maybe you're at a time in your life where, you're filled with such an immense satisfaction in volunteering, in making a difference in someone's life, making a positive difference on this planet. Imagine further that you are vibrantly healthy, that well-being and vibrant health is in every area of your body. Ooh, breathe that in. Imagine further with me that you have an abundance of prosperity and plenty. Plenty. The experience of plenty to enjoy your life, to travel the world if that's what you want to do. Plenty to spare and to share with others and organizations you believe in. Imagine greeting every day with immense gratitude and an attitude of excitement, that you're excited to be alive, awake, and aware another day on this magnificent planet. Breathe it in. Yeah. Feels good. You may open your eyes. Feeling that possibility. We all want this, right? We all want this. And the thing is, it's a very real possibility. In fact, it is waiting for us. It's waiting for us. These are the fruits of a committed spiritual practice. And, wouldn't it be nice if we could just kind of show up every now and then on a Sunday morning, take a class once a year, maybe volunteer here and there. That'd be it, right? That's all we'd need. We'd be able to realize this vision. But we all know it takes more than that, right? Anything worthwhile takes effort, including spiritual and personal growth in particular. Transforming those deeply embedded, ideas, patterns that are based in separation, and then opening and embodying our spiritual power. That takes commitment and some discipline. And there's that D word. It's like, oh no, not the D word. Get her out of here. We don't want to hear about discipline. We don't want to work hard at it, right? We work hard at everything else in our life. Come on. In our jobs and paying our taxes and balancing all the competing priorities in our life and our health and, keeping our body in shape. Phew, I'm not already. Now you're telling me I have to, work at spiritual growth. Yes. Yes, you do. And when you do, all of those other pieces begin to fit into place more easily. Just does. And we can shift our idea, our feeling around that word, discipline, make it a positive experience. Reverend Michael Beckwith used to call discipline blisscipline. It's a blisscipline. Love that, right? I mean, really, any practice that gets us to a place of bliss, it's a reward in and of itself. Blisscipline. Start changing that word. And we've gotten a head start on this. This month, if you've been with us this month, we've been working on this. The first Sunday of the month, which is Palm Sunday, we were working on identifying and sweeping out all those old ideas, those false beliefs, those limited ideas that were piling up in the back of our consciousness, right? And we had a palm frond that we gave you that kind of represented this intentional action of sweeping it away. And then on Easter Sunday, the next Sunday, we acknowledged the duality that exists in this physical human realm. And that sometimes we find ourselves in situations that feel like personal crucifixion to us. I think we've all had an experience of that. But that Easter cycle reminds us that the resurrection is just on the other side of that. It's just on the other side. And then we talked about how, a lot of times, not every time, but, a lot of times the experience of crucifixion in our lives can be the result of the predominant idea in this physical experience of separation, of fear, of competition, of competing and surviving and getting and holding on to and protecting what's ours. But that, again, that idea of resurrection, Jesus, other masters have come every now and then to lift the veil for us, to show us that there is another dimension, a dimension of infinite, limitless, boundless love. This higher dimension of spiritual love and healing light that really is our true home, that really is our true nature. And that when we align ourselves with our spiritual truth, we can bring that resurrection consciousness to the experience of crucifixion. That's what we're exploring on Easter. And then last Sunday, as Waldo was with us and shared with us what can happen when we shift our perspective, our perception of something. And when we activate and apply the 12 powers, we can literally recreate our experience of something. And so all of these things take practice, right? It takes practice. It's not just, yeah, I agree with that. Or, yeah, I'll have some of that. I'll have a double portion of that, please. It takes some effort. And for those of you, and I know, I've been here for 11 years now, and I have seen, and there are some people here who really have taken these ideas to heart and have applied them and are committed to daily meditation, affirmative prayer, practicing giving as well as receiving, being of sacred service, doing the work, doing the spiritual practice, and your lives have transformed. You are a different person than the one that walked in the door that first day. And for those who have not yet, and there's no judgment here, we're all on our own path and our own time. It's just we're talking about what's effective and what's not effective. For those who don't do the work, it appears that there is the same we're dealing with the same problems over and over in the same way. So there's no mystery. All right, so now that I've got your attention, let's talk about those spiritual practices. Which one? There's so many spiritual practices that we can do, and they're all great. I'm just going to focus on kind of 5 essential practices that we do in Unity, and we do here at Unity Center of Peace. All right, so the first one is meditation. Of course, meditation is like a basic, because that's where it really is the most effective tool that we have for quieting the voice of the ego mind. That small separated self. We can get quiet enough so we can hear what's going on in our minds. So we can experience what's really happening in our mind and our body. And it really helps us to bring us into the present moment. Present moment awareness. And not only is it really beneficial physically, and it is, from reducing stress, lowering cortisol levels, lowering rates of heart attack and cancer, and it also helps you live longer and look younger. Did you know that? This was actually scientifically proven, to look younger and live longer. Just that in itself. Gets you to do it. It also enhances our mental ability, our memory, our attention, emotional integration. That's enhanced with people who meditate. But probably most important is that it clears a space so that we can experience that dimension of infinite boundless love, so that we can see and have a personal experience of our true spiritual self. That's what meditation practice does. And because it's so essential, I thought it's time for me to offer another meditation class. It's been a while, a few years since I've done that, and I thought, let's just time to do it. And people who, have been coming in new, if you're new here, if you've, maybe taken the Pathways class, you are all invited to this. It would be really good to, and it would be a great experience to, bond together and to grow together to that next level. So and anybody really. If you haven't yet found a way. And, it might just be that you just haven't found the right method for you. There's a lot of different ways to do it, right? We'll talk about them all in the class. So I'm going to do it in June, so look for announcements starting in May around that. Okay, the second practice is affirmative prayer. Affirmative prayer, that's one of the pillars, right, of Unity. Affirmative prayer is that technique for taking this divine spiritual dimension of infinite limitless good and bringing it into our personal experience, making it practical. This is where we make it practical. This is a technique for really reimagining, recreating our experience in life. This is, and affirmative prayer, if you're new here, is different than, prayers of beseeching. It's not, oh God, please give me this thing, I want this thing, or please get me out of this mess. I'll do anything, I promise. And, well, I've been there. I've done those prayers too, right? But affirmative prayer is a little different. Affirmative prayer assumes that infinite possibility, it's all around us. It's all around us. It's within us. And that we as co-creators have the power to call forth, to bring specific aspects of that limited possibility into our experience. That's affirmative prayer. Now, don't look now, but in your programs, I'm really telling you now, don't take it out now. And some of you have peeked on it. That's okay. It's for you to take home. It's a sample affirmative prayer. And it's a prayer for you and this community for abundance, for increased prosperity consciousness. So it's got all the steps labeled so you can get familiar with what the steps are and, kind of how one thought leads to another till the final, and so it is, right, that we always say at the end. So take it home and practice that. Okay, so the next practice I want to talk about is disrupting old patterns. And there's many ways to do that. Many ways to disrupt old patterns. We're habitual creatures, right? Creatures of habit. And sometimes that's good. Very often it's good. That's kind of that automatic thing. So that we don't have to go through our day and think about every single thing. That's good. The problem is that it can keep us stuck in patterns of, scarcity thinking and fearful imagining and self-sabotaging patterns. It can keep us stuck in that. And we don't even know. We don't know what's going on because it's unconscious. It's kind of below the level of the conscious mind. But it shows up. Shows up in our lives and our thinking and our behavior and our experience. So the idea is to become aware. I was talking to somebody this week who was, procrastinating on something. Something important. Like, I don't know why I'm procrastinating. I don't know why I keep procrastinating. Right? So the idea is to self-awareness. Self-awareness. We really want to look at why, what's going on in our head, in, our subconscious that is feeding our behavior. So good ways to do that. Meditation, we already talked about that. Journaling is another really good way to become aware of these subconscious things, whatever's running us. Intentional, silent walking in nature, is good for that. Walking the labyrinth. We have a spiral labyrinth out there. And particularly if you begin the walk with a question in mind. You're asking your inner wisdom the question, what do I need to know here? What do I need to know about this? And then developing the skill to listen to the answer as you're walking in and walking out. Another thing is, we want to disrupt old patterns, and so sometimes we just need to shake things up. If we're doing the same thing, routine, the same thing in the same way all the time. We just want to shake it up enough to suddenly expose some of those patterns. Oh yeah, wow. And then you can make a choice about whether you want to continue to think that way or do that thing, or maybe there's something else that you want to choose. Disrupting old patterns. Okay, so the next idea is called seva. And seva is really what sacred service is called in many Eastern flavored communities, spiritual communities. And I love that word, seva. Say that with me. Seva. Yeah. It's this beautiful idea of sharing our talents and our time, with others. It's a beautiful act of love. It's active love. It is sharing our kindness expressing our kindness with others, with our community, with our world that makes a positive difference in the world. And just the practice of it, it's a definite spiritual practice. And it reminds us that it's not just about us, right? It's not just about us. We're not alone in this. We're all in this together. We're all in this together. We are so inextricably connected, interconnected, that when we do something that lifts someone else, we're lifted too. And we're all lifted. That's the idea. And when we come together as a community, and participate in seva and sacred service together, we bond as a family, and we're creating a space that we want to live in. We're creating a spiritual home that we want to live in. And this is true for, this spiritual community here, and also the larger community, the world. We want to get together and create a world that we want to live in. Create a habitable planet that we want to be on. And speaking of that, we do have a guest speaker with us today who's going to share with us after the service one way that we can do right now that'll make a big positive difference. So I hope you'll stay and join us for that. If you would raise your hand, is Julie Moore. Thank you, Julie, for being here today. So we'll connect afterwards, when we do our Sacred Cafe, and then we'll hear her talk about a way we can do this. Okay, so that's Seva. The last one that I have, again, there's many spiritual practices, but I want to talk about tithing for a moment. Tithing is a spiritual practice that's really intended to expand our prosperity consciousness. And when we do it correctly, it is really about the movement of spiritual energy through our minds, our hearts, and our hands. And when I say do it correctly, what I mean is that it's more about the quality of our thoughts, the quality of our feeling, than it is the quantity of the money. Because we should be doing it from a place of love, from a place of joyously giving to the community that joyously gives to us, right? It's this energy exchange. And when we jump into that energy exchange, it shifts our consciousness. It helps us build our trust, build our faith that God alone is our source, the source of all of our good. There is nothing like the practice of tithing that helps us to build that trust, build that faith. And so, again, these 5 spiritual practices, they require time, effort, sometimes mental effort, and time. Transformation is a commitment. So we may have to get up a half an hour earlier in the morning to meditate. We may have to, carve out an hour or two from our TV evening watching or scrolling through social media or whatever in order to take a class or participate in seva, right? And also, sometimes it takes courage. It takes courage to practice tithing. It takes courage, for some sacred service work, right? But we've got it. We've got that power of strength. Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, God will not have his works made manifest by cowards. Which is a very blunt way to say it, but you get the point. And the thing is, we all have courage. We all have that. It's one of our 12 powers. That power of strength is right here in the back. This is where it's located, that power of strength, which is our power to stand undaunted in absolute faith, in shifting circumstances, to stand firm. It's our power to act courageously. It's our power to stay the course, until we see it through. And here's the good news. You know, in this community, we have so many wonderful, loving, supportive people here. I mean, honestly. Yes, right? You've got a minister who I'm making myself available every Thursday afternoon. You can, come and talk with me and get support. Or other times we have a spiritual leader team that includes Pat Webster, Mel, who is our greeter online, but she's here too, Oswaldo, who spoke last week, and Reverend Chris Nygren, who is the minister of Outdoor Sacred Spaces. You're really surrounded by some fabulous consciousness. And, just in this community, we're just a community of loving, supporting individuals here to support each other on our path, right? As we joyously celebrate our journey toward wholeness. That's what we're doing together. We're celebrating our journey toward wholeness. Good? All right. Namaste.